Welcome to Inside Bremerton. This is our City of Bremerton video newsletter where we focus on issues and topics important to our citizens. I really like talking one-on-one with local citizens, especially if I've gotten a little hint that they've done some really cool things that maybe everybody doesn't know about. And joining me today is just that person. Her name is Iris Friday. Iris and I have known each other for quite a long time, quite a few years. Iris is a very, very busy woman. She is a Bremerton resident, lives in Bremerton, but she's got a really good story. She's done really great work with the Native American population all over the country and women. So, welcome, Iris.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate the invitation to be here.
Great. Iris and I have been talking and playing tag and trying to figure out a date to get together, so we're really happy to be together. Iris, Alaskan native. Yes. You are born and raised in Alaska. Tell us a little bit about where you're from.
Yeah, so I was born in Ketchikan, Alaska, and was raised in a village called Cake, Alaska, which is where my mother was born and my grandparents were born. And so my extended family all originates in Cake, Alaska.
And what's the population of Cake?
Population there is about 550 people, so not a very large town. It's pretty isolated. It's located on Kupernoth Island, and so the only way to actually get there is either by the ferry or by a plane. So,
out of Ketchikan? The ferry goes out of Ketchikan?
So the ferry stops through Southeast Alaska.
Oh, so the Alaska State Ferry. Yes. Beautiful up there.
Oh, yeah.
It's so beautiful. So when did you leave Cake?
So I graduated from high school and ended up going to Edmonds to go to college.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I did that for a while and then ended going back up to Alaska, and then later moving to Seattle, going to Seattle Community College, and then from Seattle Community College to the University of Washington. Yeah, so
excellent.
Ended up staying here for a while until my work took me to DC, and then I ended up working there for about 3 years.
So pretty wonderful experience, Alaska, Seattle area, and then to Washington, D.C. How was your experience in Washington, D.C.?
I love Washington, D.C. I just think there's such a vibrancy about it and a diversity that you don't really get in a lot of places. There's just so much going on in terms of the political realm and legislation and folks running back and forth.
Right.
You know, it's busy, constantly busy, and everybody's interested in politics.
Everybody.
So my bachelor's degree is actually in political science, which is why I really enjoy that political realm. Did you meet Lindley in Washington, D.C.? Lindley and I actually met through a friend in common in Connecticut.
In Connecticut?
Yeah.
We speak of Lindley. Lindley Logan is Iris's husband and fabulous guy.
Yeah.
Fabulous guy, fabulous artist, fabulous mover and shaker, fabulous supporter.
Yes, most definitely.
He's excellent. So you were in Washington, D.C., and an opportunity happened in Seattle. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was working for the National Congress of American Indians and came across a notice that was advertising a fellowship through HUD. And it was a program called Community Builders. And the idea was for folks to, really get engaged with communities that hadn't been engaged before. And so I thought, well, I've done this work. I can apply and see what happens. And if I get accepted, then it's another opportunity. If I don't, I'm still going to be doing what I love. And so I ended up getting selected and did the 2-year fellowship, and that fellowship brought me back to Seattle, which was nice because my mother and my sisters all live here, so I was able to get back with family. And then that opportunity was supposed to be 2 years, and I've been there now almost 17 years. So much longer than I expected, but it's been a good field to work in.
Right. So you're working for HUD, living in Seattle. How did Bremerton happen? How did that whole thing?
Yeah, that's a good story. I was assigned to work with Kitsap County, and so was coming over to 2 meetings where they were talking about developing artist loft housing. And and so I had some extra time one day before the ferry came, and I didn't have to rush back on. So I drove across the bridge to Minette and just fell in love with Minette and just thought, wow, this is just the most perfect area. It's quiet, it's beautiful, it's got amazing views, you can see the ferry coming in and out. And so Lindley and I decided to come over and take a look, because we were looking for a house at that time, but Seattle, it's either a small lots, high taxes, not a lot of rooms, and so we wanted something that was going to be more like what we were used to, more quiet, you know, slower pace, you know, beautiful views and surroundings. And so we came over one weekend and we looked around, and we just started driving through the different neighborhoods through Minette, and ended up going, you know, just past the Illahee area, and saw a little for sale by owner sign, and decided to drive back there and check it out. And we were a little bit hesitant at first because the sign was right outside a dirt road, and you couldn't really tell what was going on back there, so I thought it looked a little bit too private, and we weren't sure, but we ended up driving back there, and you've actually been there, so you know how it's kind of tucked away.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
Yeah, so we're at the end of the road, so we border the Illahee Forest, and so, or the Illahee Preserve, and it's just, you know, nice and quiet and private, and just everything that we love, just surrounded by trees, and you know, a couple neighbors, and it's all good.
Very, very nice. So your 2 children, your oldest, Sage, who's like 15 now, and that kind of scares me. So Sage was born in Seattle, and by the time we moved over here, he was about 9 months old, and he's known nothing but Bremerton all his life. So he's 15, he's a sophomore at Bremerton High School, and then my daughter Seneca is 12, and she's a 7th grader at Mountain View Middle School. And then my 2 older kids also went through the middle school and high school here, so they're both Bremerton High School graduates and still Bremerton residents. So you're tied here. You are really
absolutely.
tied here.
I love Bremerton. You know?
So now you have to do the commute to Seattle, which is not terrible, but you get to work at home one day a week, which is wonderful.
That makes a difference. And then I think when I started commuting on the ferry, there was no Wi-Fi, and so a couple years later, they ended up getting Wi-Fi, which is
helps.
Yeah, it makes so much difference, you know, because I can use that hour in the morning, an hour in the evening. That's where I'm able to do a lot of my volunteer work, is on the ferry. So utilizing that time in a way where I can do something that I also enjoy.
Congratulations. Great story, great story. Iris is also very, very involved in Women in Democracy. Did I say it right?
Center for Women in Democracy.
Center for Women in Democracy. Tell us about that organization.
So the Center for Women in Democracy is about a 15-year-old organization. They were started as a result of a women's delegation that traveled to Cuba. And they had such a great time on that trip to Cuba that they decided they wanted to be able to continue taking women to different countries. And so that's how the Center for Women in Democracy was born. And there was this core group of women that all put up some of money to start the organization. And so it's been in operation ever since. They do 4 main focus areas. So one is our global networking trip. And so every other year we host a delegation of women who travel to a different country, and you spend 7 to 10 days. Don't have to think about anything, because the Center for Women in Democracy Global Networking Committee plans everything. So they'll try to decide which country we're going to visit, and then they start meetings with different folks, elected officials in the country, and they set up this amazing itinerary. So all you have to do is, you know, pay for your portion of the trip, get your ticket, show up at the hotel, and from there everything's taken care of. You know, you've got your breakfast, your meals, there's a bus that shuttles
Takes you
you
around.
from place to place, and then you just spend these incredible days meeting
Learning
with women.
about government, mentorship, empowering women.
Absolutely, and just
Fabulous.
learning about the history, some of the challenges that they have. I've had
And then do some women come to the States?
We have had some that come to the States and are guests here, so we'll either try to host a dinner for them or some other opportunity to network them with women locally.
Tell us about the dinner that this group has every month. Is it every month or is it quarterly?
So another one of our core programs, in addition to the global networking, is our monthly Food for Thought dinners. And that's just another way to bring women together at the Women's University Club in Seattle. For a dinner, we invite in guest speakers, and so we want to learn from women who are doing amazing things, are doing things that are new in their field, are women who just got recently elected. So, for instance, the next Food for Thought dinner, which is next Thursday night, will host a number of the women that were recently elected to Seattle City Council, Ferndale City Council.
Great.
And the idea is bring women together around dinner, a meal, have a conversation, and just be inspired by the great work that everyone is doing.
Great. That really intrigues me.
It's a good time.
Yeah, that really intrigues me.
It's a 3-course meal, you know.
Where is the University Women's Club?
I think it's 6th and Seneca. Yeah, it's just right downtown, so you can take the bus 12 up and just hop off and
you
walk
know
the
all the
block.
buses.
Yeah, I don't like walking up those hills.
I hear that. Iris is also a Leadership Kitsap graduate, and she loved that program. She was in the class of 2013.
Yeah, class of 2013.
Tell us about your experience in Leadership Kitsap.
So, leadership is always an area that interests me, and I'm always looking for new ideas and new opportunities. And so, I came across the Leadership Kitsap on the internet when I was researching something else, and I thought, oh, this can be really interesting. I decided to apply for it and was invited to interview. So part of the process is you go in, you get interviewed, and they ask you what your interests are, what you know about Bremerton, what do you think are some of the issues. And so I was invited to participate, and there's a fee involved, so your employer pays a portion of it, and then you pay a portion of it. But had the opportunity to join 29 other fabulous residents from Kitsap, and we spent the next 9 to 10 months just engaged in learning about what's going on in Kitsap County in terms of environment, education, health, governance, you name it. You learned so much about what's going on in Kitsap County, and I think one of the things that I really appreciated was that we have a lot going on in Kitsap County to be proud of and to appreciate. And I don't think as, just normal citizens that we get that experience to find out what's going on. And so I would say that if anyone is interested in what's going on in Kitsap County and wants to be further engaged, civic participation, just finding out what's going on, volunteering, that Leadership Kitsap is a really good route to take.
To start.
Yeah, and you just meet so many fascinating people that are doing so many different things. But the exciting thing is that they're all committed, they're all volunteer oriented. And so part of the process is you don't just go out and learn about what's going on, but you actually develop a community project. And so part of developing that community project is kind of learning to work together as a team. So how do we deal with different leadership styles, communication styles, and that's part of that teaching that they give us up front with Leadership Kitsap.
Great.
Yeah, and so our project was to develop a drug take-back program. And so there's now a permanent drug take-back site at the Kitsap County Sheriff's Office in Silverdale. So if anyone has unused prescription drugs that they don't want lying around the house, they can drop it off there and they'll get disposed of properly.
Great service. Great service. So in this fabulous work that Iris has been involved in, she's recently received some awards, and that's what tickled me. So first of all, let's talk about the Award for Excellence that the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, gave to you in 2014. Congratulations on
thank
that.
you.
And
Yeah.
what was that all about?
So part of the recognition is just looking at, well, first of all, you're nominated by
Your office?
peers.
Your
Yeah.
peers. Mm-hmm.
You're nominated for the award, and they identify some of the work that you've done and kind of the difference it's made. And so it's nationwide. So each of the regional and field offices are submitting those forward. And then there's a planning team at the headquarters office that reviews them all and selects recipients. And so it wasn't just myself, but it was a group of folks from throughout the country that were recognized. And then part of it was through a recognition ceremony that took place in DC. It was very nice.
Very, very nice.
Yeah.
Very proud of that. Very good. And then recently, up at the Tulalip tribe, the Potlatch Fund, which is Washington, Idaho, Oregon.
Yeah.
You received an award from that organization. What was that about?
Yeah, so the Potlatch Fund is a nonprofit organization that provides grant writing services, philanthropic services, leadership training to natives and tribes throughout Washington, Oregon, Idaho. And so each year they host a gala, and it's a fundraising gala for the organization, and it was held at the Tulalip Tribe's facility. And the award was the Antone Minthorn Economic and Community Development Award. So really a recognition of the work that I do in Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. Oh, it was a very nice gala, very nice award ceremony.
Very, very nice.
Yeah.
So we want to also recognize that Iris is a founding member of the Native Action Network, and a huge organization, increased civic participation, leadership development. So really Iris is totally committed to, number one, serving the Native American population and women in civic development, leadership, mentorship.
Yes.
Is that kind of it?
Absolutely.
But tell us about the Native Action Network.
Yeah, so Native Action Network was started in 2000, and it was as a result of a conversation I was having with a friend. And you know, we had attended all these different leadership awards luncheons that were taking place, and you know, we were having a conversation. It's like, you know, wouldn't it be nice if we could honor some of the women that are doing great works in our community? That, you know, there's those folks that are behind the scenes that just do all the work and never expect recognition. But we know that those are the people that really are holding their community together and that everyone depends on. And so we decided to have a conversation with some of our other friends and say, wouldn't it be nice if we could do all these different things? And I wonder why no one's doing it. And then we realized, you know, this is something we can do. Why don't we do it? You know, why do we have to wait for someone else to do it for us? Let's just do it.
Neat.
And so we started out, and we did our first a day-long conference in Seattle. And then
what year was that?
That was 2002. Wow. Yeah, so we've done 11 so far. And it's all volunteer work. It's all women who come together, you know, because they feel this is an important service to provide to the community and important recognition for Native women. We have since done conferences every year, and then we added a youth academy component because we felt it was important that our young women get some of the leadership skills that they need to help them as they move through their careers. And we also wanted to build those networks of women helping women. So as women move off in their careers, or they may get elected to their tribal councils or become an executive director at another position, that they're in a position to help out others behind them. And so we wanted to just be able to create this network of women of all ages supporting one another, and then providing mentorship opportunities for young people too. You know, I think folks get so busy doing different things that they forget how impressionable young people are, and that if you just take the time to talk to them, to get to know them, share some words of advice with them, those make a big difference to people, especially young people that may not have the opportunity to get those words of advice, or sometimes they don't want to listen to a parent, right? But to hear it from someone else makes a big difference.
Exactly.
You know, and I just feel that throughout my lifetime, I've had so many mentors that have really supported me in my work, and they've said those words of encouragement that made a difference.
Go, Iris, go.
Yeah, and I just think, you know, it's important that we give back to support young people.
That's great.
Yeah.
So let's think back to when you were a little girl in Cake. At what age were you when you realized, I think I need to go. I want to leave here. Was it high school? Was it before high school when you thought, I gotta get out. I gotta do more. I've got to see more, learn more. Do you remember how old you were then?
I think as young people, we were always fortunate that there were like summer camps and stuff that we could travel to and spend, you know, a week away from home and get to meet other people. And so it kind of helped to kind of build that sense of adventure, of wanting to get out and visit different places. And so it was probably high school when I thought, you know, I'm ready to go to college and see something different. And I was really fortunate that I had a cousin that I was very close to, who he was 2 years older than I was, and so he would get the college brochures, and we would go through them and look at them and just talk about all the possibilities. And so I think he was a big inspiration as well. So once I saw those brochures, I was like, okay, I want to do that too.
Yeah, I want to do that too. I want to do that too. Iris instills in her children the importance of family and culture and knowing her family. So Sage and Seneca, Thomas and Vanessa probably did the same when they were younger. Sage and Seneca get to go to Alaska to Cake, at least on an annual basis. Lindley, Iris's husband, is from upstate New York.
Yep.
What is his tribe?
He is Seneca. So Tonawanda Band is Seneca. Yeah.
Is upstate New York, so Sage and Seneca also get the opportunity to go spend time with.
Yeah, definitely large families on both sides. And so
very important.
My husband Lindley, it's really important for him to get to know his family. His mother lives back there, his aunts, all his cousins, and so it's nice that he's able to take them back and they get to spend time with their cousins and get to know who they are. So.
And that's important for anybody who chooses not to live where they were born and raised, where their family is. I'm in the same situation. I left Chicago and moved here, and it was important that I gave my children that sense of family, that this is where not only I grew up, but this is where your family is. And this is why mom is the way she is. It's very, very important. So then as they grow older and they can make the choice to go and live there and go and visit on their own, it's just so very, very important. What do you think is the most important that Sage and Seneca get out of that? Is it the family? Is it the visit? Or is it the vacation and the fun?
It's definitely family. You know, when we went out to Alaska this last time, Seneca was able to go fishing, and, you know, she was able to jig and catch fish and help put it up. And so kind of being able to learn that, you know, your food comes from somewhere. It's important. This is how you prepare it. This is how you store it. You know, and this is how we bring it out for family gatherings and have meals together. And so just kind of being able to share in that experience, I thought was really important this summer. And it was something she really enjoyed. So she got competitive with the guys on how many fish she could catch. She actually beat everyone.
Did she really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
She was really good.
That's great. Back to Iris's husband, Lindley, a fabulous artist.
Most definitely.
And sought after. He does workshops. People bring him places to teach art. And I'm sure he's carrying on those traditions from his tribe. And beautiful.
Yeah, and he's actually was selected for a National Leadership Fellowship. So he'll be going back to D.C. the first 2 weeks in December, and he'll be able to go through the National Museum of American Indians archive collection and research different types of Seneca beadwork. And then from there, he'll go back to his community and teach workshops on what he's learned and pass that on. So yeah, pretty excited about that. And it's really something that just art in general is just so important to him, and being able to incorporate aspects of his culture and traditions into his art, I think is an important statement for him.
Very, very.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was Lindley that tickled me via email, and then I saw him in the grocery. Char, Iris has really gotten some recognition. I wish you'd talk to her.
Aw, so sweet.
He is a wonderful, wonderful guy.
Yeah.
Iris, thank you for your time today.
Oh, absolutely.
It was really wonderful talking to you, and also sharing with the community what we have in our community. And these people in Bremerton-Kitsap County, we got some really great ones. And really appreciate that. Thanks so much. And thanks for joining us on Inside Bremerton. We'll see you next time.